And it was based on those two premises, that there is no free lunch, and that all of the desert has its advocates that came together to form the Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan. It took a lot of years. I had some involvement with it for all 8 years that it was involved. And I would like to pay a special thanks to two people who are not with us today. One is the former state director of the Bureau of Land Management, Jim Kenna, who years before that was the area manager here in Palm Springs in this valley. And Jim Kenna stayed on the job until he could sign the DRECP. He wanted that accomplished before he left, and he did. And the second person is Karen Douglas, who's a member of the California Energy Commission, who has worked tirelessly to backfill people who thought they had major issues with the existing DRECP and to cancel out their opposition, or at least say, you know, your problems are solvable in the implementation agreements, and they are. And so you now don't have groups who are advocating for the reopening of the DRECP, minus someone in Washington whose name we all know, who may or may not follow any point of view by anybody on any given day at any given moment. We'll see. But all we can do is say, here is what folks think, here is what people who live here believe. And by the way, I also want to make a comment that says, yay for tourism. When, as an example, Palm Desert looks at its tourism, the area of tourism that has had the fastest growth, that has the most interest, that has the most use, is outdoor recreation. And I don't mean by outdoor recreation, I don't mean golf. I mean taking a walk, being out in the nature, being out hiking, going off trails, doing all of that. And we still live in a remarkable place. You can go from Palm Desert and in 5 minutes, or from most of our valley communities, and in 5 minutes, 2 twists and turns of a canyon, and you have the desert to yourself. There are very few places in the world left in which you have that ability of solitude and that ability to take things on your own and to enjoy them and to be at one with nature. And I think that's a very special thing. And the idea of disrupting that for temporary uses, and they are temporary. I don't care how much one says, well, it'll create this and it'll create this. They are all temporary, and then what's left behind is a desert that does not heal very readily. So, with that in mind, it's time for questions and comments from the audience. And the Congress member has said he will take those questions and comments to the Bureau of Land, to the Department of Interior, and specifically it will go then to the Bureau of Land Management, and we'll ask them to respond to those. So if you have questions or comments, please make them. And I think there are cards that have been handed out asking people to stick a name and how you would like to have a response sent back to you. Whether it's by postal mail, whether it's by email, whether it's another method, however you want your response to come back, let us know, and the Congressman will do his best to make sure that happens. We are out of the comment period for the DRECP, and the current President of the United States does not necessarily wish to have a lot of input, but we wish to have a lot of input, and our member of Congress wishes to have the input, and our U.S. Senators wish to have input.